Hello, beautiful people! A question I get asked often is if you can actually PvM without higher level gear. A lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I've always told anyone who asks me about upgrade order that I personally prefer to go for free unlocks, accessory items, and abilities before I go for armor and weapons. And I always go for armor before weapons. My tier 92 and 95 weapons and armor were the last things that I bought. I rocked Anima Core for longer than I should have, and Sea Singer got me through some really tough times. I've always preferred to buy non-weapon and armor upgrades first because you can get a lot more bang for your buck in my opinion. Yes, weapon and armor upgrades are amazing, but I felt the most change in my PvM experience after major upgrades like Greater Concentrated Blast or tier 99 Prayer. Some of the free upgrades are actually the most impactful, like Invention, Ancients, Excalibur, and so many more. When I made the switch from tier 90 dual wield to tier 90 tool dual wield, for example, I was like, okay, I guess I'm hitting harder. The exception is the Fasoa, and even an okay staff rotation, that thing is wowza. And totally affordable right now, given how strong it is, if you hadn't noticed. Right now it's like at or below max cash, kind of crazy. To give you an example of what I'm talking about, I'm doing normal mode Duck with Batwing armor and tier 95 wand and orb with some basic invention perks. I kept some of my upgrades on, like my Essence of Finality and my tier 99 prayer, so that you can see how much of a difference they can actually make. And I should note that I do only use my tier 99 prayer during the Zuck fight, and when I'm doing the challenges. Otherwise, I'm just using my overhead prayers. I do eventually lose my sign of life at Zuck, but it's because I did an uh-oh and didn't use resonance in time when he dropped the bomb on me. I mean, if nothing else, I'm always relatable. Speaking of impactful free upgrades, having my defense cape on the rack at Anachronia has been huge. I'm also using a Ripper Demon and not a Yak, so I opted for a Ring of Death because I was not confident in my Batwing. And just to be completely transparent, I did have to do this kill twice. The first time I messed up during the waves and let my animate dead run out, I didn't notice for too long and I was getting smacked around and left myself with very little food to attempt Zuck. Even then, I still got him down to 68,000 HP, which I was pretty surprised about. I was much more careful the second time around, and we got it easy peasy lemon squeezy. Minus missing a res, but hey, it happens. So the question is, just how relatable are my relatable guides? Normally I would use my Superior Sea Singer, which is free 99. If you buy regular Sea Singer, it's gonna cost you about 10 million GP. That's still not bad. The Batwing I'm using here is gonna cost you less than 50,000 GP. But also, please don't use Batwing. Let's go over the numbers. Tier 99 Prayer costs between 600 million and 700 million. Essence of Finality with the Ornament Kit costs about 330 million GP. Greater Chain is currently at about 604 million. Greater Concentrated Blast is going to set you back 190 million. The Scripture of Gwen costs 87 million. Celestial Hand Wraps are about 300,000. Ancient Elven Ritual Shard is about 8 million. Grasping Rune Pouches cost 17 million, and I have 2 of them for my spells. The Ring of Death is around 64 million GP. Wand and Orb, tier 85, cost 20 million and 15 million respectively. Scare Tactics costs about 1.2 million. This gives me more stuns to use against the thick spinny boys here. The Madra Aura costs about 222 million if you buy it with Reaper points based on the current cost of an incomplete Hydrix, and 207 million GP if you buy it with bonds at their current price, as it costs 3 bonds or 1,000 Reaper points. But you could also effectively say that it is a free aura because the Reaper points won't take away from your cash stack, even if that's at the expense of adding to it. It just depends on how you look at it. For perks, my Precise 6 Genocidal on my wand costs about 500,000 GP, and the Equilibrium 4 costs another 500,000, making the total 1 million GP for perks. And finally, the Merciless Kite Shield costs 31 million. So, the total cost for this Batwing build at the time of writing, with all that in mind, is just over 2 billion GP. About 2 billion, 16 million to be specific. This setup can be tweaked in many ways and still be great. For example, if you take away the tier 99 prayer cost and replace it with the free tier 95 version that is still very amazing, the total goes down to 1,366 million. You could also swap the Scripture of Gwen for a Scrimshaw of the Element, which costs less than 5 million GP. Honestly, 1.3 billion is great for a PVM setup. 2 billion is also great as well, considering the number of things that you can do with it and not feel like you're suffering too much. The cost of just the Wand of the Prizal alone is this whole setup combined, including the tier 99 prayer. Even a seismic singularity and wand will cost you about 1.2 billion GP, which is just under the cost of this setup using the tier 95 prayer instead of 99. This is what I mean by you get more bang for your buck often when you consider all of the accessory upgrades as a whole. So, 2 billion GP might not sound very relatable at first, especially if you're new to PVM and are starting from zero. But there are many ways in the game now to make this amount of money easily without a high initial investment. You can farm Croesus indefinitely, and starting out is so easy since as a skilling boss it doesn't require much to get into it. The top helm and bottoms are still at around about 500 million GP, and the other drops are still a few million, and that adds up fast. If Croesus isn't your jam, you can also do clue scrolls, which do not require a huge upfront cost and have unlimited potential to make you billions of GP if you're lucky. Even if you don't get a die, clue scrolls are all profit unless you're using puzzle skips. Yes, you might have to do some questing, make hidey holes, get a few starter meerkats to begin with, but the initial investment is low and the rewards are high. There are also a lot of lower level bosses that you can do to make enough money if all you want to do is PVM. Like I said, drops that are worth a few million GP add up quickly. God War Dungeon 2 is very chill and has drops that are worth a few million GP. You can do normal mode Carapac and Glacier to farm some of your upgrades or to make money. And Duo Next is just a classic. You can make nothing or several million GP in an hour, but it's so chill with a friend. Even enough time AFK in Kriara will eventually add up to several million. I mean, shoot, you could even sell archaeology materials or get into Slayer that has a lot of big booty drops now. The possibilities are literally endless. What I'm getting at is that 2 billion sounds like a lot, but there are so many ways to make it with having little or no GP to start with. Now, of course, having better equipment is ideal. Using Batwing is not great. It's magic tank armor, so you can definitely see just how strong Animate Dead really is. Even then, everything was hurting me. But that's where how you play, well, comes into play. If you're going to use budget gear, you can't just run into the thick of it all and face tank everything. I mean, you can, but you'll end up in Death's office. And this is what I've been saying in all of these videos. You can do everything in the game in lower tier armor with cheap weapons if you have a positive attitude and you're willing to take the time to really get good at it. I'm not saying that 2 billion is nothing, it's a lot. And I'm not saying that it's even necessary, as you can see. But if we're going to do big booty bosses that require big booty DPS, we need to have some equipment that's a little thicker. Basically, what I'm saying is how you play is more important than what you have. If you know what to do and you do it well, you can accomplish anything you want to with less. And if you can't afford the big ticket items, you can buy several of the less expensive items and get kills in. And that's pretty relatable. Thanks for watching, guys. I'd love to hear what you think in the comments, especially if you have any tips for making money in the game for our future PVM legends. I appreciate you and you're awesome. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time, friends.